American dream.
The 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 American dream.
They don't want a population of citizens capable of critical thinking. They don't want well-informed, well-educated people capable of critical thinking. They're not interested in that. That doesn't help them. That's against their interests.
The American dream is dead.
The American dream is dead, and it's possible it was killed on purpose. Does this feel like the America you were promised? The land of opportunity? You're working harder than ever, but it feels like you're falling further and further behind. You're struggling to make rent, afford groceries, and maybe even keep a roof over your head. Is this the future that you envisioned?
The time was 1957. It was a very different world than the one we live in today.
America doesn't need you anymore. The jobs are gone, shipped overseas, or replaced by automation. The cost of living is skyrocketing, and your wages are doing absolutely nothing. And yet, you're told to pull yourself up by your bootstraps. But what they didn't teach you in school is that the system is rigged against you. But worst of all, the thing that pains me the most is that what's happening is all by design. But in order to get to that, we must first start at the border. It's a total disaster at the border, and guess who's getting screwed? You guessed it, you and I. We've got migrants pouring across the Rio Grande like it's a water park, and instead of securing the border, the government's busy rolling out the welcome mat and handing out freebies. Meanwhile, you're busting your behind just to make ends meet and getting jack squat. And it's been said the Biden administration is thinking about giving $450,000, that's almost $500,000, to each illegal immigrant caught sneaking back across the border in 2018. So let me get this straight, they broke the law, and now they're getting rewarded with a fat stack of your hard-earned tax dollars. Why would anyone follow the law if they're being paid to break it? And it gets worse. In New York City, they're giving out debit cards loaded with cash to migrant families. Food, diapers, whatever they need, and you're the one paying for it. Meanwhile, you're struggling to afford groceries and wondering how you're going to pay rent. And every year, you're overcharged on the hard money you earned only to give it to people who aren't even Americans. But this is where it gets even crazier. A judge in Illinois said a Mexican dude living here illegally has the right to own a gun. A gun? We've got so many rules, regulations, and restrictions like ERPO to deter Americans from purchasing firearms, but someone who's not a US citizen seemingly has better rights than you do. It's like the world's literally gone crazy. The government's bending over backwards for people who broke the rules, while you, the hardworking American, are getting the shaft. And this just isn't about the border. This is about a system that's rigged against you. It's about a government who's forgotten who it's supposed to serve. The citizens who once upheld this great nation are now simply not on the priority list anymore. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. You go and try finding a decent place to live in New York City. Good luck with that. The housing market there is a total nightmare, and it's getting worse by the day. Almost 93,000 people slept in New York City's shelters last year. In some places, that's like the entire population of a small city, and it includes a bunch of kids. And it's not just hitting a few unlucky people. This is hitting Black and Hispanic New Yorkers the hardest. This situation is giving them nowhere else to turn. And when people are cornered, desperate times call for desperate measures. People are now squatting in homes because they can't even afford rent. It's getting so bad to the point that if you can't afford to live, you'll literally have to steal someone else's house. And on the flip side, if you're actually doing well for yourself, someone can just legally take your house if you're not there. It's a lose-lose situation. We're talking about a 68% increase in just 10 years. I don't even know if desperate is the word anymore. To afford a 3-bedroom place in New York City, you practically need to be a millionaire. The city used to have laws that forced landlords to build affordable housing, but those laws went completely out of the window. And now, landlords are free to jack up the rent prices like there's no tomorrow. And the city? They're just sitting back and letting it happen. Remember that 421A law? The one that gave tax breaks to developers who built affordable housing? Yeah, that's gone too. Now, developers are only interested in building luxury towers for the rich and famous, not places regular New Yorkers can actually afford. And don't even get me started on zoning laws and the outdated infrastructure. It's a mess and it's making the housing crisis even worse. It goes without saying this is a real problem, and our leaders just sit back and let us get priced out of our own cities. We need to raise hell, get involved, and demand affordable housing for everybody. Otherwise, we're screwed. Oh, but hold on a minute. I forgot to mention, we're already being screwed. And as if that wasn't bad enough, businesses are playing you for a fool. They're making moves that sound all nice and generous, but when you look closer, it's just another way to screw over American workers and line their own pockets. Take Tyson Foods for example. They were all over the news about hiring 40,000 asylum seekers and migrants at the border. I mean, it sounds good, right? Helping folks out, giving them jobs, who would hate that? But on the flip side, they're shutting down plants and laying off American workers at the same time. So basically, they're replacing American workers with cheaper foreign labor. Nice move, Tyson. Then, there's everyone's favorite, BlackRock, the $20 trillion investment firm. They're allegedly housing illegal immigrants in New York and raking in cash from the government. We're talking $125 per migrant per bedroom. Do the math, that's a sweet deal for BlackRock, but it's your tax dollars at work. And don't even get me started on private equity firms like Blackstone. It was estimated that more than half of all single-family homes in America were on track to be owned by private investors and private equity by 2030 if private equity had purchased 22% of homes by 2023. However, recent statistics show that an insane 44% of US housing was purchased by private investors in 2023 alone. They're buying up houses like it's an actual game of Monopoly, pricing out working-class Americans and making it impossible for regular people to achieve home ownership. They've got all the cash, so they can just waltz in and outbid you, no problem. And once they control the supply, that means they'll also control the demand, and they can do whatever they want. So what's the bottom line? Big businesses are playing the game to benefit themselves, and Americans like you and I are getting left behind. They're outsourcing jobs, taking advantage of government programs, driving up housing costs, and turning people into forever renters and homeless. And the worst part about it is that it's not just happening in New York, it's happening all across America.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter who you ask. Anyone living in San Francisco will tell you there's a number of issues that this city is dealing with. As you just saw from that video, most notably, probably the high crime is one thing, but then also the high cost of living. And it's leading people to face a breaking point. Either they stay here in the city they love, or they move away to try to find a better life elsewhere.
This place used to be the golden child, the city everyone dreamed of living in. It was one of the most captivating places to move if you wanted to create a new life and new opportunities in America, but now that couldn't be further from reality. It's like watching a train wreck in slow motion. Businesses are fleeing faster than rats from a sinking ship, the housing market's gone belly up, and the cost of living is so high, it'll make your head spin. Remember those bustling streets packed with shoppers and tourists? Yeah, those days are gone. Now, it's like a ghost town with empty stores and for lease signs everywhere you look. Even big-name stores like Nordstrom and Anthropologie have packed up and left. So what happened? Well, the work-from-home crowd isn't coming back to their offices like they are in other cities. Plus, a ton of other people have just straight up left San Francisco. They're tired of the insane cost of living, the rising crime, and the general feeling that the city's going downhill fast. And speaking of crime, San Francisco is one of the most crime-ridden cities in the country, with your chances of getting robbed or assaulted higher than winning the lottery. Why? Because the city's leadership is asleep at the wheel. There aren't enough cops on the street, and the district attorney's office is letting criminals off easy. And then there's the drug problem. San Francisco's practically turned into an open-air drug market, with addicts shooting up in broad daylight, and the city's drug dealers handing out free needles like they're candy. But it wasn't always like this. The tech boom brought in a bunch of rich people, driving up the housing prices and pushing regular people out. Now, even homeowners are selling their houses at a loss because the market is tanking. In fact, 1 in 7 homeowners are even selling for less than what they paid for the homes. If things don't change soon, San Francisco is going to become a ghost town. And the rest of America? Well, we might be headed down the same path if we don't wake up and start fighting for our cities and our communities. And the worst case is happening with Gen Z and younger millennials.
But young people, you're the backbone of this country. You're the backbone of the world.
Young adults are moving back in with their parents at rates we've never seen before. It's said almost half of 18 to 29-year-olds are back under their parents' roof, the highest it's been since the days of disco balls and platform shoes. And why is this happening? Because the economy has financially crippled them. The cost of living is through the roof, student loans are crushing people's dreams, and the economy is about as stable as a Jenga tower built by a drunk dude. So now, young people are forced to do what they have to do. They're moving back home with their parents to save some money. Over 40% of them say they're doing it to build up their savings, while another 30% admit they just can't afford to live on their own. And let's not forget about the 19% who are desperately trying to pay off their student loans. We're all trapped in a vicious cycle of exploitation for profit. This isn't just a problem for young people either. People of all ages agree that it's harder to get ahead financially more than ever before. We're living in a broken economic system that's screwing over everyday Americans, especially the younger generation.
Can somebody explain to me in crayon-eating terms why I make over 3 times the federal minimum wage and I cannot afford to live? And I do not want to hear the pull yourself up from your bootstraps, work 90 hours a week. That's not the goal, guys! That's not! That should not be our standard!
But hey, at least some of those boomerang kids are making the best of a bad situation. A lot of them are actually happy to be back home, saving money, and spending time with family. And honestly, who can blame them? Meanwhile, large corporations are still sucking people dry of everything they have. They're the only one buying up all the homes these days, thanks to years of accumulated wealth and a housing market that only they can afford. So what's the takeaway? Young adults are getting screwed over by the economy, while large corporations and governments benefit from the crisis. It's a recipe for disaster, and it's time we start demanding some changes. Back in the day, the dream was clear. Build a home, secure your family's future, and pass down your legacy. That dream was what drew so many people to America, promising prosperity through hard work. But now, it's like that promise is slipping away. If things keep going this way, we're headed for a future where everyday Americans end up like those in San Francisco, struggling with homelessness, crime, and feeling like our country's lost its way. Big corporations and the government seem more interested in keeping us in the worst positions possible to exploit us for profit. It's not the America that we all signed up for. And if we don't do anything about it, America will die right along with all of our dreams. Thank you for watching The Dark Side of Dollars, and remember, the truth lies in the details.